Hamnet is the most offensive film I've ever watched. This film made me incredibly angry, more so than any other film ever. I was literally shouting at the screen by the end of it, unapologetically. It pissed me off so much. And it's because it is clear to me that it could only have been written and directed by someone who neither understood grief nor Hamlet. The film has stunning cinematography. Before going into it, I had heard it was going to be boring, and that was maybe my main concern. But I was quickly taken by it at the beginning because, Jesus Christ, I have no idea what lenses they used. But nature in this film is wonderful. The English forests and any natural scenery, breathtakingly beautiful. And I also was quite intrigued by the figure of Agnes being a pagan witch. Some other positives: the costumes and the environments are equally stupendous, top-notch craft. Craft is not the issue. The issue is everything else: story, human psychology, culture, and knowledge of the material. It is emotional manipulation and disgusting cynicism which were employed in the making of this film to take something profound and exploit it without understanding it, to trivialize it, to trick the audience into feeling and thinking they understood something deep, which in fact was twisted and reduced to its most banal and insulting expression. If you came out feeling like this was a great film that taught you something about human suffering or the work of William Shakespeare, no, you were tricked. No, you should be angry because you were fooled. You were deprived of the possibility to experience something foundational about humanity. Again, loss. And the understanding of possibly the greatest artist to ever put human emotion and experience onto paper. This film, as uncanny as it sounds, must have been written by someone who has not ever read Hamlet. Again, let's go in order. Agnes and Shakespeare fall in love for no reason. None we're allowed to detect. They get married, they make children. These are not real people. Agnes seemed like she was going to be a real character. The actress does a good job, even though she is clearly much better than what she's allowed to be in this film, where she's forced to project and be as emphatic as she possibly can, to the point that it's basically melodramatic, with no scenes actually allowing her to be fully fledged as a human going through the circumstances that she has, all in pursuit of tricking you, the audience, and the Academy Awards to give her an award. I don't blame her. This is on the director, producers, whatever. She does a fine job with what she has. It's just that what she has is terrible. They make 3 children, barely interacting in any sort of believable or realistic way with both each other and the children, who are not real. After the very first few minutes, characters stop being characters and become empty stereotypes. The children are just children. They're cute, they're sweet, daddy's just daddy, mommy's just mommy. This witch character, who seemed so full of life and potential, without any compromise or passage or sense of sacrifice, simply becomes a mom. Her entire life, her entire wants, needs, feelings revolve around caring for her children. Insulting. Not because one cannot just simply be a mum, but she was presented as much more than that. Hamnet, the child, is the sweetest boy you could ever imagine. Brave, sweet, funny. His sisters are equally as adorable, and they're all basically waiting for tragedy. They are sacrificial lambs for you, the audience, to cry for once one of them, oh, I wonder who, perhaps the one the movie's title after, is going to die. Sure enough, that happens. The whole way they try to keep this mysticism and paganism going throughout the film is unsubstantial. The child switches himself with his ailing sister in a completely nonsensical way, which would have maybe worked if the film was trying to be more fantastical and kind of stuck to those supernatural elements a bit more, but the film wants to feel grounded, wants to feel dramatic. And so, yeah, doesn't make much sense how he could have switched himself with his sister after sleeping next to him. That's not really how the fucking plague works, but sure, we'll take it. Anyways, he's dead, and it's supposed to be very, very sad, because of course it is. A child died. But this is not a child. This is the child. The child has died. The perfect child has died. Be sad. Mum is very sad. Dad comes back and is kind of stunned, I guess. And this is the point where the film starts crumbling completely, where it really starts showing off its deep, deep ignorance about the subject that it's treating. What you've witnessed after this point is not grief. Anyone who's lost someone they loved knows this. It is not this clean. It is not this safe. Losing something or someone you love is the most devastating experience a human can go through. It wrecks every aspect of their lives at the most unexpected points. It's a never-ending wound. It is messy. It is excruciating. It is inexpressible. As you might have guessed, I kind of know what I'm talking about. And I felt insulted by the representation by the incompetence in tackling this subject matter. Because Agnes just pretends to be sad for a while, at very opportune moments, in very opportune ways. The relationship between her and her husband is as paper thin as it can possibly be. Another thing that becomes horrifyingly apparent by this point is the waste being laid to the figure of William Shakespeare. Paul Mescal in this film is not William Shakespeare. There is nothing about him that would make you believe you are staring at one of the most vividly talented, profound, creative geniuses of all time. Bar none. He's just a sad dad who's away for work. The lack of a previously established reason for him and Agnes being together, their mechanics not existing, makes it impossible to see those mechanics fall apart in a compelling way. The scenes where they interact after the death of their son are performative at best. They're just there to show you this connection between the two of them without really knowing what's missing now, because it was never established what was there before. So Agnes is sad. She wants him to be there. He goes away. He has to work. That's about it, because they're just mom and dad, aren't they? And you might think, oh, well, what's the matter? It's just archetypical. You know, what's wrong with that? Just a dad and a mom and a child, and that's the story. Tell you what the fucking problem is. You're using William Shakespeare. This could as well have been the story of a shoemaker losing their son. You want to go archetypical? Make your own story. Don't start off with the premise of tackling the death of Shakespeare's son and then give us a stand-in dad, stand-in mom, stand-in son dying. And then fail miserably at depicting their grief, even by common standard, and then want to take it back to the point where, no, these are not just any people. This is Shakespeare. He's gonna write Hamlet about this. The third act of this film is where shit really hits the fan. Agnes goes to London and goes to see the play. At this point, please understand how insulting to your intelligence this film is. At this point, it's the first time that they mention Shakespeare's name, as if it's some kind of twist. And you're supposed to be wowed that Hamnet is about Shakespeare. This is how much the film insults you. Set that aside, you might think that's not much, but it is. But let's go to the meaty bit. Agnes steps into the theater and starts losing her shit because the actors on stage start pronouncing the name Hamlet. And like a bloody moron, she starts screaming, "That's my son's name, stop saying it. Did you not know what you were gonna watch? Did you not see the billboards? How stupid is this?" But it gets stupider. Shakespeare acts as Hamlet's father in the play, and this is where it gets... You have to have read the play. You just have to. I cannot. Nothing I'm going to say is going to be able to express to you how unacceptable what you have been fed is unless you've read Shakespeare's Hamlet. He acts as Hamlet's father in the play, and Agnes just blurts out, "Oh, he's switched places with our son," and she's moved by it. As if Hamlet's father in the play is sad and is kind of missing his son, because of course that's what the film wants you to believe this play is about. This play is just a representation of Shakespeare's grief as a gift to his wife and an elaboration of their shared grief, except it's bloody Hamlet. Hamlet's dad curses his son with avenging him because Hamlet's dad was killed by his uncle and wants his son never to forget. He wants his son to devote his life to vengeance, which is going to corrupt him, make him miserable, and ultimately lead to his death. That's Hamlet. Let's move on to Hamlet himself. If you haven't read the play, which please read it. Some of the greatest writing ever. Please be smarter than these people want you to be. Hamlet is one of the most tormented characters ever conceived, and his level of torment is so profound and so tragic. It's simply genius. His life is horrid throughout the play. He repeatedly considers committing suicide. That's what the whole be or not to be speech is about. Hamlet is thinking whether he should off himself or not. In this film, that's presented as some cute little rumination that mommy can just kind of look up to and feel a bit, Hamlet destroys a girl who loves him because of how tainted by vengeance he is. There's this girl, Ophelia, she is pushed away by him, treated horribly to the point that she drowns herself. Hamlet despises his mum. That same mum who's supposed to be staring at him with glowy eyes from the edge of the stage. Hamlet in the play despises his mother because she has married his dad's brother, his uncle, who's killed his dad. "How can you go from this to this?" says Hamlet to his mum, shouting at her, dragging her through the room. More amazing things happen, and then Hamlet kills his rivals and ultimately succumbs. And you, the audience, are left wondering what the point of it all was. Why did it have to be that tragic? Now you want to tell me, knowing that that's the play, you want to tell me that a mum knows nothing about this play, goes into it, watches it, and leaves with a big smile inside her husband, kind of like, "Oh, then you did feel sad too," after her husband has put their dead son through the most horrific ordeal in literature. You think that's a heartwarming moment for the mum that we've seen in the film. The film, betting on your ignorance, wants you to think that the representation that you've just watched is about an ideal, beautiful, heroic tale of what their son's life could have been. Except it's Hamlet. Now, it would have been, and in fact is, very intriguing to try and understand how the real Shakespeare, who really had a son named Hamnet, who really died, how did he go from that pain to the play Hamlet? How could that have inspired Hamlet? It seems completely counterintuitive, because if you had a son who died, you would want to do what this film pretends he's done, imagining a great adventure for him that he could never have had because his life was cut short. But that's not what Shakespeare did. Shakespeare made his son's unlived life a complete tragedy. And that is so interesting and so touching in a way that points to family dynamics that must be completely different from what we've been shown in this film. That made this result make sense. But unfortunately, that's not what we get here. What we get is a pretense that this somehow makes sense, that you can go from what we'd seen, a sort of happy family life, child dying, everyone mourning him, to that being the inspiration for him living a great adventure through literary imagination, and that creating catharsis for the father and the mother. That is so cheap and so stupid and so insulting once you actually know what the story of Hamlet is about. And if you ever, and if you have, I'm sorry, experienced what losing a loved one feels like. I despise this film because it cheapens something that's very, very dear to me. So, of course, this would not impact other people the same way. But if you are me, and I am, and I'm talking to you as me, then this is just a slap in the face. It hurts both because it misses the point completely in terms of understanding the play, understanding the emotion of grief, and because it makes it harder for someone like me, and I'm sure a lot of you, who know more about these things, to have other people respond appropriately to those things. Because now people misunderstand those things to be what we see in Hamnet. Makes life harder for us, really. It's predicated on ignorance, emotional ignorance, and literary ignorance. It has been massively rewarded for it. That's all I have to say. Take care.